Hey Wargamers, Games Workshop has released a new set of Tau stealth suits that are going up for pre-order this week in the new Kill Team box Dead Silence. Now, if you haven't seen these guys, they are amazing, just fantastic sculpt, somewhere in between the original stealth suits, the XV15s, and the newer XV25 GoatBoy designs. And so we get a nice mix of those two, a little bit of ghost keel thrown in there as well, and just a really solid looking unit that basically anybody is going to want to pick up strictly for the sculpt alone. But this unit is something that looks really awesome, but of course it's starting out in Kill Team, and so it's unclear how this is going to transfer into the main 40k rule set. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. The first thing that we need to address is if this is actually a new unit or just a replacement for the existing stealth suit team. And there's examples of both from previous Kill Team boxes, right? Vespid were released not as a new unit, but just as an update of the old Vespid kit, whereas Farstalkers were a new unit, right? We can take Farstalkers in addition to Carnivores. And so there isn't a clear basis for which of these two paths we're going to follow. Vespid are presented as Stingwings, so they are presented exactly as the same thing as they were. Whereas the Farstalkers were never called Carnivores, right? And so here we're in a little bit more of the Farstalker territory because these are clearly named not as XV25 suits, but as XV26 stealth suits. And yes, the naming convention gets a little bit funky there, but let's just go with it. They're XV26 stealth suits. And that's different than an XV25 stealth suit. So right away there is some indication that this is going to be a different data sheet than the original stealth suit team. It's also described as an experimental variant, which would suggest that it's something different, something other than the mainline stealth suits. The box or the kit comes with 5 suits, but there are 6 options for how you could build those 5 suits, plus 2 drones, and those drones are, new as well. And so it looks like this is definitely, this looks much more like a different kind of thing, right? Like the original stealth suits are coming in units of 3 or 6. 5 is not either of those numbers, and so this is definitely not quite fitting into the mold that they would have to fill if it was just a replacement. Additionally, at least 3 of the 6 options can take fusion blasters. I say that because certainly in all the pictures that we've seen of a completed kill team, 2 of the units have fusion blasters, or 2 of the models have fusion blasters, but there's also some of the previewed rules that list fusion blasters on multiple data sheets, and so above and beyond just the 2. So it seems like at least 3 of the options could take fusion blasters, although you might be limited to just taking 2 out of the 5 models as fusion blasters. Either way, whether this is just a replacement or a totally new unit, I think it's interesting to think about what these new rules might look like. Not everything that's going to be in the kill team is going to make it over to 40k, right? It's not going to be a 1-to-1 port. It's not even going to be like a 1-to-5 port or anything like that, right? Like most of the things that are in the kill team as far as rules are going to stay in kill team and won't see analogs in the mainline 40k, right? We can see that as evident in the Pathfinder kill team. We can see that in the Stingwing kill team. We can see that in the Farstalker kill team. All of those have war gear and particular units that just don't translate over to 40k. Like the Carnivores, for example, the Farstalkers, for example, have the Pek Ra, which gives them a special rule, and then they have their own kind of built-in native special rule as well, but all the other different types of Farstalkers in the kin band don't get representation in 40k. And we see that in all the kill teams, right? So we'll go through what these different things could be, but keep in mind that most of them probably aren't going to make it, right? Some of the war gear will likely become an ability, but for the most part, it's going to be a subset of these potential options. So let's start off with some of the compulsory and relatively straightforward units, right? So for example, it has to include a Chazvray, and the Chazvray is your unit leader. And so, yeah, it's pretty straightforward, I think, in terms of what the rules for this guy are going to be. He also has the drone controller, which allows the unit to have a gun drone and a shield drone, or excuse me, a gun drone and a marker drone as well. But the drones that he has are actually tweaked. They're a little bit special, right? So has a marker drone, but the gun drone also has photon grenades, according to the article, which is an interesting change. I don't know if this is going to be a different mark of gun drone or if it's just going to be a way for the unit to have photon grenades. Either way, that would be a nice addition, a nice little tool to have access to. There's also an infiltrator, which is just the standard stealth suit, basically. They call it the soldier, so it's basically a filler, it seems like. So this is probably going to be one of the guys that if any of them can't take a fusion blaster, it's probably going to be this guy, right? Like, he's going to be the one with the burst cannon, almost certainly. And then the designator is the guy that we see pictured here. He's a spotter with a marker light. And this is probably the way that the unit will get the marker light keyword. And that's fine, right? Like, they might have some additional rules on top of that, but Games Workshop is being pretty clear here in the intended roles of these different units, and all of these different roles have analogs in 40K already that we can assume these models will fill as well. Now, if we look at the more novel suits, we have things like the Liberator, which is a Grenadier stealth suit. They address this in an article saying it's a little counterintuitive that you would have a Grenadier stealth suit, but they said it's going to be something you're going to want to take. And yeah, sure. Let's go with that. This seems like this is one of the suits that can actually take a fusion blaster. It's pictured here with a fusion blaster. We see it in the we see it in the articles with a fusion blaster. So this is part of the reason why I say, like, there's at least 3 profiles that can take it, even if you can only take 2 in the unit as a whole. But one of the things that I think would be interesting with the Liberator is that a Grenadier suit, yes, would be pretty interesting in this role, but maybe there's a way to have it fill a little bit more of a defensive role here. So what if the grenades it uses are more defensive, less offensive? What if they reduce movement speed for targets, for example? I think we see something like this in other armies, like the Votan, for example. I think have something similar to this. But the idea here would be that that's part of the stealth strategy for this unit, right? Is like, yes, it's not exactly stealth, but it's helping them stay away from other units and keeping other units at bay. And I think that could work. That'd be an interesting tool to have in that unit's arsenal. The Lodestar is the homing beacon guy. He's the one that you see on the bottom here. He also has a chaff launcher, which is pretty cool. I think this is a really neat model to begin with, and one of those things that if there's going to be a model that doesn't get an analog in 40K, it might be this one, just because of how more elaborate the suit is. Like, we saw that with the Stingwing team, right? With the stealth Stingwing didn't get an analog in 40K because it was just outside the bounds, right? And that might be the case here too. But the chaff launcher is the more interesting thing here. I think maybe this could do something like giving -1 AP against units shooting at them. It's supposed to make it harder to hit the unit and things like that, right? Which makes sense for electro chaff to do that. -1 AP would be a reasonable analog for this particular type of rule. It also has the homing beacon, and the homing beacon in Kill Team works differently. It helps you gain CP, but in 40K we have a homing beacon already, and it does something totally different. So I would be surprised if they changed how homing beacons work just for this, and so I would assume that that's probably going to stay the same. And then the neutralizer is not one that we have a great image for here, but one that we do have the data card for. And again, this is one that can take a fusion blaster. It has a system jammer and a reactive move special ability. So The reactive move would be something where if you know, a unit comes within 6 inches, this unit could do a normal move or something like that, right? And that fits really well with the kill team rule that they have for stealth suits, and also would fit well with some of the stratagems that Tau as a whole have access to through various detachments. This would be a way to allow them that functionality without needing to rely on a stratagem, and so this is something that I think would be another nice tool in their toolkit. The system jammer is a little bit more interesting. It's supposed to make things harder to, or basically limits the amount of actions that an opponent can use in Kill Team. I think the analog here would be something like a Battle Shock test, and so you could have something where the neutralizer, if it's included in your unit, can induce Battle Shock for nearby units, kind of like how Piranhas do with their drone harassment role. As a whole, the kill team has access to 2 special roles, including Patient Hunters, which essentially I think would serve as a way for the unit to get reroll ones to hit and wound on their own target, so they don't have to rely on, you know, being guided by a different unit. And then the Ghost Shroud special rule is something that allows them to be a little bit stealthier, right? And so maybe this is like a one use only lone operative for a battle round type rule. If it sees its way over to 40k, I could see something like that. And both of these would be nice assets for this kind of super stealth unit, right? Like, that's one of the things here, is that it seems like these are supposed to be the, you know, the experimental variant. They're supposed to be above and beyond a standard stealth suit, and so they're going to be more expensive, but they're also going to do something special, right? And so I think some of these things might fit nicely with that. Overall, my guess is that this is going to be a new unit, right, based on the language that they've used so far. The composition seems to be a unit of 5 plus 2 drones. All the pictures we've seen of the kill teams have been 5 suits and 2 drones. That's how they've described it in text as well, as 5 plus 2. So yeah, 5 plus 2. Shazray and 4 others. It does seem like you could have more than 3 fusion blasters, but it might just be capped at 2, right? That's how it's been pictured, and in every single one of these images as 2 fusion blasters, 3 burst cannons, and that's fine. It would be kind of cool if we could give all, you know, more of them fusion blasters, right? That would be another thing that could distinguish them from the XV25 suits, is that these are maybe a little bit more punchy, and that would be cool. But either way, having 2 even if it's just 2 fusion blasters in unit 5, that's respectable compared to just 1, which we would have in a normal stealth suit unit. And then we'll probably see 1 to 2 of these specialist abilities that we talked about. Not all of them, not all of the special rules, right? We're getting a pared down version of these rules for 40k, where you have a whole army to give you special rules, not just a one unit, right? So yeah, just see maybe 1 or 2 of these things, if any of them, right? All these are probably wrong, right? Like, there's probably going to be something else, but this is my shot at it, right? As far as those abilities go, I think the reactive move seems really reasonable, as again something that would fit well with the concept of the unit and work with some of the gameplay mechanics that we already have in place. The movement reduction for the Grenadier, I think, would also help provide them with a distinct niche compared to the standard stealth suit, and would also give them, I guess, not just a distinct niche compared to that standard stealth suit, but also in the army, in the army as a whole, right? And that's something that I would think would be really cool if we could incorporate here, and probably make them earn their pay pretty well. And then finally, if we, you know, use more fusion blasters here, if we're looking at which abilities we think are gonna go into this, it might make sense that Games Workshop looks at the XV25 stealth suits and said, okay, these are your support stealth suits. These are more for your maneuverability. These are your for the greater good, guiding units, all that stuff. That's something for the XV25s, whereas the XV26s, they are your more offensive, punchy stealth suit unit, and so they don't have like the the benefits of guiding the same way that XV25s do, right? Like they can still guide, but they don't give the rerolls to other units the way that XV25s do. Maybe, like we talked about, maybe they get that for themselves, but they don't give it to other units. That could be something there as well. And so I would think that this would be more of the direction that they go in here, is pushing these XV26s to be the punchier version and the XV25s to be more of the supporting version. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Am I totally off base here? Would you want to play with any of these rules? I think it'd be fun, but let's have a conversation about it. As always, thanks for watching and happy wargaming. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. This channel, this video are made possible by my supporters over on Patreon, so if you enjoyed this video, consider joining our community over there as well. Additionally, we have Invasive Wargaming models back in stock, probably for the last time. There's the original Invasive Wargaming model, plus 2 new sculpts as well, so head on over to the Invasive Wargaming Etsy shop and check those out.